First of all, Maurice Pearl, former managing director of BlackRock Inc. Mr. Pearl is chairman of the board of the Patriotic Millionaires. Previously, Pearl was a managing director at BlackRock, one of the largest investment firms in the world. He worked on the Maiden Lane transactions and assessing the government's potential losses from the bailouts of CitiBank and AIG. He also advised Her Majesty's Treasury of the bailout of Lloyds and RBS, as well as similar projects for the Central Bank of Ireland and the Bank of Greece. Prior to BlackRock, Pearl enjoyed a long tenure on Wall Street where he invented some of the securitization of technology, connecting America's capital markets to consumers in need of credit. He is a CFA Charter Holder, a member of the CFA Institute and New York Society of Securities Analysts. Mr. Maurice Pearl, it is my pleasure to have you here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Egberto. It's great to talk to you.
Well, I mean, your resume is impressive, so let's pretty much get with it. Tell me a little bit about yourself, where you were born in, were you born into wealth? How did you build your wealth and income?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm 55 years old. I was born in a little town in upstate New York. My family, when I was little, owned six little clothing stores in six little towns near the Canadian border. Two of them were so far away, I actually have no idea where they were. But four of them, my father brought me to visit occasionally as he was traveling around, working at them. And that's where we lived. His parents, his parents and grandparents emigrated from Eastern Europe, kind of like in Fiddler on the Roof. That was the ancestors that I had. And I had the advantage of being able to take advantage of public education and schools in upstate New York. And then my family moved to Vermont at one point. We did that. And I went to the University of Pennsylvania, started, hundreds of years ago by people with a lot of foresight, and was able to get an education in then this new field of computer science and computer engineering. I had the good fortune of being in the right place at the right time when asset securitization was first starting in the 1980s. I was able to take my computer science skills and abilities and apply them to this new thing on Wall Street, where they were taking thousands and thousands of mortgages and putting them together in pools and selling them off to investors that way. And that was something that simply could not have been done without computers. And so that's kind of how I made my career for many years. And then sort of started branching off into a few other activities. But I had the very good fortune of being born in the right place, the right time in the United States of America, to parents who told me I can do whatever I want, and I did. And now I've decided, after one day, literally being at a due diligence meeting in Athens, Greece, and thinking I was watching a parade for a few minutes while we were having a lunch break. It turned out I was actually watching a sort of a demonstration or a riot kind of moving down the street towards Parliament Hall. And I turned around, I looked at the 10 or 20 people standing there having lunch in a fancy dining room in a bank headquarters. And I realized I was doing a lot of work for these 10 or 20 people and helping them, but I wasn't sure I was really helping the rest of the people in Greece all that much. And I decided I had to find something to do that would help, not just my own personal children, but my children's generation. And so, anyway, I decided to get involved in politics and policy full time about a year and a half ago.
Do you consider what you are doing a civic duty? And if so, why?
Well, I mean, not a duty, people aren't required to, do policy work. Of course, not everyone does, and the country wouldn't work too well if everybody was doing
Right.
politics, of course. I mean, I consider it, I, I, I feel like I have to do something with people to help people. I want to feel like I'm accomplishing something. and accomplishing something means helping people. And I have the very good fortune and luck of having made enough money that I don't really need to make more money for my family right now. And so, yeah, this was what makes sense for me.
Now, when I read about the Patriotic Millionaires, when you guys just came out, as you know, I'm a national blogger. The first thing I said was, wow, this is a template that was needed right now to present to a whole lot of people, not from an altruistic point of view, but in effect from a necessary point of view. There's one thing, you said you were into computer science. Arithmetic matters, and the growth of money and how it affects everyone matters. And knowing exactly what happens to money in the aggregate, I think it's extremely important. So, um, do you, most millionaires would think they are smart. Most millionaires, billionaires would think that they know how things should run. Why is it that most don't understand that absent any changes, the system just won't stand?
Yes, there are a lot who think they're very smart. What strikes me as funny is not only the people like Sergey Brin, who started Google, think
Right.
smart, who really is very smart, but guys were smart enough to have rich grandparents who are
Right.
really smart. And that sometimes strikes me as funny. But it's like I don't claim to be altruistic, really. I mean, I like people to think I'm a nice guy, but I don't really claim to be an altruist. I remember I'm paraphrasing a talk that Senator Al Franken gave before he ran for Senate, and somebody asked him, why are you so altruistic, Al? And the answer was, and I'll take this to myself too, I'm not altruistic at all. I'm actually pretty greedy. But what I'm greedy for is different than what those other guys are greedy for. They're greedy for more money. I'm greedy for a country with more fairness and justice for my kids to grow up in. So I feel we need that because if we end up with a country where we have to have rich people behind like big 12-foot walls and driven around armored cars, well, I don't want to live in that country. If I did, I could move to, I don't know, Uzbekistan or Mozambique right now. But I don't want to. I want to live in the United States. I want to live in the United States that I remember from when I was growing up watching Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver, where everyone was doing well. And if somebody wanted to start a business, well, everyone in the town had enough money to shop at his store or whatever he had. That's the kind of place where I want to live, where everybody in the country makes enough money to be able to support businesses and do stuff and participate in commerce and participate in civic society. That's the country where I want my kids to grow up. So that's what I'm working on.
The Patriotic Millionaires, you representing them, of course, you're in Washington, D.C. right now meeting with senators. Tell me, how did that go? Did you see some positive results from this meeting?
Well, I don't know if we changed the world. We had a great meeting with Patty Murray from Washington, with Tammy Baldwin from the state of
Oh,
Wisconsin,
yes.
just for instance. But those are people who, frankly, were probably most on our side before we called them, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, I think we might have changed a couple of minds. A lot of our meetings were actually with senior staffers of
Right.
senators. I think we might get a few people to sign on, for instance, to the closing this loophole that carried in people that get carried interest pay lower taxes than actually people who work for a living.
Hmm.
And that's something so egregious. Even Donald Trump talked about it, on our side. I mean, nobody. Well, we found one guy who actually will speak publicly that it's a good idea, but that one is so egregious that the only argument against it is, well, we need sort of comprehensive tax reform and one big bill that does lots of things, not just a few little things. And it's true, it's not a huge thing, but it's symbolic that it's so egregious. So that's one of the things we've been talking about. And I think we might get some progress on that because, even Republicans actually think it's ridiculous. So
Right.
it's really on tactics that they've been talking, well, we want to save this. So when there's some big comprehensive tax reform, we can get some things we want, and you can get the other side can get some things they want, sort of thing. So there might be some progress. I think, though, we're kind of moving the debate a little bit, even if we don't make progress on a narrow issue. I think we're making some progress in showing people that the idea that it's business people against the 99% is just false. Because business people and investors also want to live in a country with a robust middle class and with people who can afford to shop in their businesses. So it's really the very few multi-billionaires against everyone else.
Right.
That's the real debate. But somehow the other side has convinced people, no, it's not right to have less inequality. God meant for there to be lots of inequality, so you're going against God's will if you're against inequality or something like that. I mean, I don't really know what the argument is exactly, so I'm not trying to do a straw man argument here, but I think what we're trying to do is get our voice out there to show both the public and members of Congress and the House and the Senate that sort of everyone is in favor of progressive policies.
That is excellent. Now, I know that you have a new book out that is supposed to explain a whole lot of this stuff, and I noticed that it is conveniently placed on your left side.
We've got a picture of the cover right there. I've got the copy of the book right here. It's not too long. This is just the first of probably a series of books. This is only 30 pages or so.
Right.
But we're basically trying to explain our basic principles. And the basic point that we're getting across here is that we want everyone to be able to participate in what I would call civic society or political influence. We want all citizens to have access to power, not just the rich who have much more access than the others. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to tell you that Congress people are like taking bribes or saying, oh, I have to support this because somebody paid me money and that's what they want. No, I think most of our Congress people, even the ones who are against me, are basically good, decent people. But what I think, though, is they never see the other side. They meet people when they go to fundraisers where people are paying thousands of dollars. There are people in this country, I've heard, who can't afford to pay thousands of dollars to go to fundraisers. And I think a lot of senators and members of Congress never meet those people because they're spending all of their time raising money because they need so much money to run their campaigns. So it's sort of an access thing. It's that, by getting access to your senators, you present your case, and nobody ever presents the other case. And so the problem seems obvious. So the three basic principles that we're talking about in our book are that we want everyone to have sort of access to political power, regardless of whether you're rich or you're poor. We want people that work full time to make enough money to be able to support themselves. So we want to have the minimum wage higher than it is now. And we want to make the tax system more fair so that those who are the richest among us pay taxes at a higher rate than than average citizens, not at a lower rate, as seems to be the case sometimes now.
Well, now tell me that book. I have a copy of that book. I got a pre-release copy, and
Okay.
and I haven't completely read it, but what I've read so far, I loved it. So please tell our audience first of all, why they should and need to get that book, and where can they get that book?
Okay, the book is Renegotiating Power and Money in America. The ebook version is actually on Amazon right now, and I believe it's free. So we paid for producing the book and everything, and anyone who wants to can go to Amazon and look for Renegotiating Power and Money in America and download a copy and read it. It's a fairly quick read. It's only it's 63 pages. That includes some pictures. So that's the story. Yeah.
Well, Morris, give me a closing statement. Give me a closing message that every single middle class and poor American needs to hear from this rich man who is saying, "I want to do my part."
Well, the thing is, you don't have to put up with people trying to tell you you're not supposed to do well. You can be in a situation where you're doing well too. And it's not wrong to want everyone to do well. It's not wrong to want less inequality. We're supposed to have a country where everyone is allowed to participate. Our Constitution started, we the people, and all the people are supposed to be participating. And that's That's the right thing to do.
Morris Pearl, founding member of the Patriotic Millionaires. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Egberto. Thank you very much.